This week I'm mostly going to talk about the Marine Corps Ball because it was just last Saturday night and they have a lot of good pictures, so I want to show you those. But I did want to mention the embassy security briefing we had a couple weeks ago. The interesting thing about it is that the primary focus of it was the possibility of avian flu becoming a pandemic. The U.S. State Department is not only watching the situation very closely around the world, but they're preparing all of their embassies by making sure that they have the equipment and the vaccines and whatever they think they might need. So it was kind of interesting. What they actually did was, in addition to the medical officer here giving us an overview that took about a half hour to an hour, they gave each of us a CD that had on it about an hour's worth of information on such things as preparation, how to avoid the flu, and the biggest thing is wash your hands, don't cough into your hands. Well, don't cough into the air, but if you cough into your hands, wash them right away. Make sure the people around you are doing the same. So I thought it was kind of interesting, but I didn't want to get into a big medical thing here and don't want to get people concerned, but it is interesting that they are trying to get information out to virtually everybody that's in a foreign country, because obviously the problem right now is in places like Eastern Europe and Asia and Africa, and they want us to avoid it so that if anything does happen, we don't bring it home with us. But mostly what I talk about is the Marine Corps birthday ball. And what I've got is actually a combination of pictures that I took and a slideshow that the Marines sent out to all of the Americans here to encourage us to come to the ball. So obviously what you see in front of you now is the first of their slides. You may notice up in the right-hand corner there, what you've got is an American flag and a Moldovan flag. This is a copy of my ticket to the ball. As you can see, I was number 79 in buying it. What we ended up having was between 200 and 250 people there. And as you can see, it went from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., although I doubt if many people actually stayed till 3. For whatever reason, this is only the second time that the Marine Corps has done this here in Chisinau. Just so you know, it's a fairly small contingent here. What the Marine Corps does is guards the embassy. We also, those of us attached to the embassy, while we're here, they give us the phone number of the 24-hour embassy Marine Guard. There's always a Marine on guard. And so if anything would happen, if we would be harassed by the local police or the military here, or have any sort of problems with citizens, our first phone call is supposed to be to them, and they will decide what the appropriate action to take is. Because they're essentially here protecting us, we wanted to support them in what they're doing in this ball. Because this is really a big deal for them. As you can see in this slide, it's one of the most widely recognized Marine customs, and we're going to go through some of those, but they've been around since 1775, and this is what they consider their biggest annual celebration. They're very proud of the fact that they've existed longer than the nation itself. Here's the schedule for the evening. People came, hung out for a little bit. 6:50, the guests were seated. Ceremony lasted a little over an hour, and there was dinner, good food, and then there was music. People liked to dance and listen to the music. It was a good place to be that night. Every table had a centerpiece like this. You can't see it clearly, but there's an American flag. Next to it is a Moldovan flag. And then you can see the red and gold Marine Corps flag there. This is the start of the ceremony. You can see the Marines coming in there at the back. And this is just a closer view of that. This is the American ambassador opening the ceremony. The reason it's dark, they had the lights low because on the screen behind there, after he spoke, the Commandant of the Marine Corps actually gave a little introduction to the tradition and talked about it a little bit. One of their traditions that this slide talks about is the cutting of the birthday cake. The guest of honor that got the first piece was Ambassador Kirby, the U.S. ambassador. He's new there, so he was chosen as our guest of honor. Second piece given to the oldest Marine president. In this case, it was a retired gentleman who served in Vietnam. The third piece is given to the youngest Marine president, who in this case happened to have just turned 19. As you can see, if you look closely, they actually cut the cake with their sword. Now, it's sort of interesting because there are no officers on base here, But by tradition, and as far as I know, the Marines are the only ones that do this, the non-commissioned officer in charge of a unit where there are no officers present, such as in this case, there are no officers assigned here, the non-commissioned officer in charge actually has a sword. That's unusual because normally only officers get swords. Like I said, as far as I know, the Marines are the only ones who do that. And that's what they use to cut the cake. After the ceremony, people hung around and talked. The civilian there on the right is Doug. He's actually a Fulbright student here doing research. The gentleman in the middle is the youngest Marine, and the gentleman on the left is Gunnery Sergeant Downs. He's actually the ranking non-commissioned officer that's here, and it was his job to organize this ball. The rest of the evening was music. Some of it played by this group, some of it actually disco type. They had a DJ there later in the evening. And although I'm not sure you can tell exactly from this picture, if you look closely there in the middle, you'll see a few uniforms, but there were several high-ranking Moldovan officials there, colonel and up, as well as Marines, as well as embassy staff, as well as a lot of other Americans that were there. Most of the Fulbright scholars that are here were there. So it was a good turnout for the Marines, a good way to network with people involved with the U.S. government here. So that was the Marine Ball. I do want to give you a little idea of what's going to be coming up over the next few weeks. We have some holidays coming up, so some of the government stuff is starting to slow down. Actually, this Thursday is Thanksgiving. The Peace Corps puts on a Thanksgiving event where they do skits and provide food and everything for any American here. So I'll probably be going to that. I'll try and take enough pictures so I can give you an idea of what's going on there. In addition, on Friday night is the Thanksgiving concert down at the Philharmonic, although it's usually hard to get pictures during those. But I'll probably talk a little bit about it. But then over the holidays, one of the other things I want to do is start talking about the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. I want to start getting into some of the meat. Now that I've been here long enough, I've started to learn more about what's actually happening here. I've talked to more government officials. I'm starting to get more comfortable in terms of knowing who to ask questions of. So you're going to be seeing more meat of actually what's happening here over the next month or so. So I just want you to be ready for that. It's going to continue to be fun. I'm going to continue to let you know things that are going on here of interest. But we are going to start doing some more real work.